You probably think you're feeling because of, I don't know, a lack of discipline. You tell yourself you're stalling because you're lazy, or maybe you just don't want it badly enough.
Yeah.
We look at our own inability to move forward, and we immediately assume it's a character defect.
It's an immediate self-judgment. But that whole assumption is, well, it's fundamentally incorrect. Most people don't stop pursuing their ambitions because they're incapable of progress. They stop because something deep inside them is actively resisting the cost of that movement. There is an invisible force at play.
And that force has a name, doesn't it?
It does. It's called resistance. And until you really understand the mechanics of resistance, every strategy, every plan, every burst of motivation you feel, it will eventually just collapse under its weight.
So that's our deep dive today. We want to really dissect why we stop ourselves, and especially why intelligent people seem to struggle with this the most, and how our whole idea of resilience is, well, this is flawed.
It really is. It begins with what I'd call the great misdiagnosis.
The misdiagnosis, you mean the labels we give things.
Exactly. Procrastination, lack of focus, fear of failure, imposter syndrome, perfectionism. We treat these labels as if they are the root of the problem.
But they're not the problem itself.
They're just the symptoms. They're the visible signs of that deeper underlying mechanism. Resistance is, at its core, a system that is designed for protection.
Protection, not sabotage. That's a huge distinction.
It's a critical distinction. It activates the moment an action threatens your emotional safety or your identity or even just your sense of control.
So it's not that we are our own enemies. It's more like a misguided attempt at self-preservation.
Precisely. Resistance isn't trying to destroy you, it's trying to keep you safe. And that's why it's so powerful. If it were just malicious, you might fight back. But because it feels like a safety mechanism, we listen to it.
It's an internal system that sees growth as a threat to, what, the status quo?
To your current stability, yes. It wants to maintain things exactly as they are at all costs.
Which brings us to how it speaks to us. I think most people expect resistance to feel like this loud, screaming panic.
But it never screams. It's far more insidious than that.
It whispers.
It whispers. It manifests as a calm, rational voice in your head. It doesn't say, I'm scared. It says, you aren't ready yet.
Or you need more data.
You need more data. This isn't the right time. Or my personal favorite, others are already doing this and they're doing it better.
It disguises itself as logic. It sounds responsible. It sounds like you're just being prudent.
And this is what creates the intelligence paradox. You'd think that highly intelligent, self-aware people would struggle less with this.
But the opposite is often true.
The opposite is absolutely true. They experience more resistance because their minds are just better equipped to construct these convincing, logical justifications for delay. The smarter you are, the better you are at rationalizing why you shouldn't start today.
That's a terrifying thought. That our own intellect becomes the weapon that keeps us stuck. It explains why so many of us can spend months, even years, researching a project
without ever actually doing it. And that leads to one of its most elegant tricks.
The consumption trap.
The consumption trap. Resistance doesn't block your energy. Not always. It redirects it. You still want to create, you still want to achieve, but it shifts that impulse into the impulse to consume.
So instead of doing the work, you read about the work, you watch videos, you listen to analyses, you refine your plan for the 10th time.
And that creates a dangerous loop. You get an idea, you feel inspired, you start planning. Then you hit that hesitation, that discomfort.
And to make the discomfort go away, you turn to consumption. You look for another article, another tool.
And that search for clarity is the trap. Because consumption feels remarkably like productivity. It gives you a little hit of dopamine, it provides emotional relief, it feels like work, but it carries absolutely none of the risk.
It's false productivity. You feel like you're moving, but you're just spinning your wheels.
You're spinning your wheels, but you're also doing something worse. You're training your nervous system. Your system learns to associate action with threat and consumption with safety.
So you're neurologically reinforcing the habit of being passive.
Yes. The body learns that watching videos is the safe path to feeling good, while creating something is the path to anxiety.
That distinction is so critical. But let's go deeper into that fear itself. We said fear of failure is just a symptom. So if failure isn't the real fear, what is the danger resistance is protecting us from?
Failure, it's manageable. We can explain it away. We can say the timing was wrong or we didn't have the resources. The real fear is disillusionment.
Disillusionment, that sounds much heavier.
It's the grief of losing a fantasy. It is the death of potential.
What do you mean, the death of potential?
As long as your project is just an idea, it's perfect. It has infinite potential. It's the greatest novel ever written, the most successful business. It's flawless.
But the moment you start,
The moment you put the first words on the page or write the first line of code, that infinite potential collapses into a single imperfect reality.
that's a really painful psychological shift.
Hmm.
So resistance is protecting the dream by preventing the reality. If I never actually write the book, it can stay a masterpiece in my head.
Exactly. Starting forces what you could call an identity recalibration. You have to shift from being the person who could do great things to being the person who's currently doing a mediocre thing in order to get good at it.
And that acceptance of limitation, of imperfection, is painful.
It's psychologically very painful, and resistance shields you from the grief of realizing you're not as perfect as your potential suggests you are.
So we avoid the work to preserve this fantasy of our own potential. But there's a cost to that, isn't there, when we repeatedly give in to this impulse to wait?
The cost is cumulative. Every time you obey that impulse, you're teaching your mind a lesson in avoidance. Your body reinforces safety through stillness. And worst of all, your self-trust erodes.
You stop believing your own promises to yourself.
You do. And when you break that promise, a void is created and self-criticism just rushes in to fill it. Eventually, a resistance stops needing to argue. It becomes automatic.
Which is why the hardest attempt is never the first one.
Never. It's the second or the third or the 10th after resistance has already proven that it has the power to stop you. You're now fighting against a precedent that you yourself have set.
That's a pretty bleak cycle. So how do we break it? This has to lead us to the idea of resilience.
It does, but we have to completely redefine it. The popular narrative is, well, it's very Hollywood, isn't it? The montage sequence, the hero gritting their teeth.
Pushing through the pain, forcing their way to victory.
And that narrative is entirely wrong. We have to debunk that myth of force. Resilience is not about powering through. If you try to fight resistance with brute force, you will lose. You'll exhaust yourself because resistance is tireless.
Okay, so if it isn't force, what is it?
It's tolerance. True resilience is the ability to stay present with emotional discomfort without retreating.
So resistance wants you to run away from the feeling.
Yes, it wants you to run to consumption or distraction so you don't have to feel the anxiety. Resilience is the capacity to just allow that feeling to exist, to feel the uncertainty, the fear, the awkwardness, and to keep acting anyway.
That sounds less like a motivational slogan and more like a nervous system skill.
Yeah.
Expanding your capacity to feel uneasy.
It's about calibration. Let me try an analogy here. Think of resistance as an overactive immune system.
Immune system, okay.
It attacks growth, change, and visibility because it misidentifies them as pathogens. It sees them as foreign bodies threaten the whole system.
That's a powerful image. So our psychology attacks our own ambitions because they threaten our current identity, just like the body attacks a virus.
Exactly. So if you see it that way, resilience isn't about suppressing your immune system. That would be a disaster. It's about calibrating it, teaching the system that these new activities, writing that chapter, making that call, that they don't require a full-blown defense response.
How do we teach the body that? I'm guessing we can't just think our way into feeling safe. We all tell ourselves, I'll do it when I feel ready, or I'll act when I feel confident.
And that's the great causality error. We believe we must feel confident before we act. We wait for the feeling of readiness. But readiness is a myth. It's one of the most seductive lies resistance tells us.
Because safety is never granted before the action?
Never. It's only recognized after survival. You have to do the thing to prove you can survive it.
So you act. You survive the exposure, and then the system learns.
It learns, this didn't destroy me. That retrospective learning is the only thing that reduces resistance over time. Confidence doesn't precede action. Action precedes confidence.
You have to act your way into a new way of thinking.
You cannot think your way into a new way of acting. It doesn't work.
That completely reverses the order of operations for most people. We're waiting for a permission slip that's never going to come, but let's manage expectations. If someone does this, if they act before they're ready, if they tolerate the discomfort, does resistance just go away? Does work become effortless?
No, absolutely not. And this is the uncomfortable truth. Resistance doesn't disappear when you're on the right path.
It can get stronger.
Often, it intensifies. As you get closer to work that really matters to you, the stakes get higher. The threat to your old identity becomes more real.
That's so counterintuitive. We think if it's hard, we must be doing something wrong. You're saying if it's hard, we might be doing it right.
The presence of resistance is not a stop sign. It's a signal. It's like a Geiger counter telling you that you're close to something meaningful. If you felt no resistance at all, it would probably mean you were just doing something trivial.
So we have to reframe that feeling. When that logical voice starts telling us to wait, that's the sign that we're exactly where we need to be.
We have to fundamentally change our relationship with that feeling. The goal isn't to defeat resistance. It's just for it to lose its function. And it loses its function when discomfort stops being interpreted as danger.
When imperfection stops meaning failure.
Exactly. It's not about being a hero.
It sounds like the opposite of heroic.
It is. Resilience is not loud or dramatic. It is the quiet, non-glamorous decision to just remain in a state of feeling awkward, uncertain, and unfinished, and moving forward anyway.
And that's the only way real movement begins. Staying with the awkwardness.
The key takeaway from all of this is to stop waiting for the internal weather to change. The conditions will never be perfect. Your mind will always find a reason to wait. The only variable you actually control is your capacity to act while the storm is still present.
And realizing that the storm isn't a sign that you're broken.
You are not broken. You're simply a human being with a protection mechanism that is working a little too well. Your job isn't to fix yourself. It's to show that mechanism through small, repeated actions that you're actually safe.
For everyone listening, I hope this really shifts how you see that hesitation you'll feel tomorrow morning. It's not a stop sign. It is a path. Thank you for this.
It's been a real pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Deep Thoughts Podcast. I hope you found insights and inspiration to take with you on your journey of self-growth. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated on new releases and exclusive content. See you next time, where we'll continue to help you grow and explore your full potential.